In 1991, NASA's billion-dollar Galileo probe was drifting through the void of space when an invisible force threatened to cripple the entire mission. The spacecraft's massive high-gain antenna refused to open. It was not a software glitch. It was not a fuel explosion. The culprit was a microscopic failure of lubrication. On a few mechanical alignment pins, those metal pins had literally welded themselves together in the vacuum of space, paralyzed by a force you interact with every single second of your life. Friction. You probably think of friction as that simple math equation you learned in high school, or the reason you have to change your car's oil, but almost everything you have been taught about it is an oversimplification. Today we are going to look at the bizarre quantum mechanics of a phenomenon called superlubricity, where scientists are literally turning friction off. But more importantly, we will uncover a terrifying new psychological dilemma where software engineers are now fighting to put friction back into artificial intelligence just to save our minds. Before we can understand how to turn friction off, we need to understand the physics like costing the global economy trillions of dollars every year in wasted energy and mechanical wear. If you took a basic physics class, you were likely taught the Hamilton's Coulomb law. It states that the force of friction is equal to the normal force, multiplied by a coefficient of friction, represented by the Greek letter mu. Textbooks teach this coefficient as a static material property. They tell you that steel sliding on steel has a specific constant number. This is a brilliant engineering approximation, but fundamentally it is an illusion. Friction is not a material constant. It is a highly dynamic system response that changes wildly depending on velocity, temperature, contact pressure, and environmental chemistry. To see the truth, you have to zoom in. If you look at a highly polished metal block under an electron microscope, it is not flat. It is a jagged landscape of atomic mountain ranges called asperities. When you place two seemingly flat surfaces together, they do not perfectly flush against one another. They only touch at the very peaks of these microscopic mountains. Because of this, the real area of contact is incredibly small, often less than 1% of the apparent geometric area. All the weight, all the normal force is concentrated onto these tiny microscopic peaks. The pressure becomes so intense that the atomic lattices at the tips actually undergo plastic deformation. Here is where the classical interlocking mountain analogy completely breaks down. Friction is not just physical roughness bumping together. It is a thermodynamic process of energy dissipation and chemical bonding. When those microscopic mountain peaks smash together under high pressure, the atoms get so close that they share electrons. They form temporary metallic bonds. The two separate pieces of material essentially become one single object at those specific points, a process known as adhesion, the resistance you feel when you try to slide. A heavy box across a floor is actually the force required to continuously shear and rip apart millions of these microscopic cold welds. Engineers map this chaotic interaction using something called the Strybeck curve, which illustrates how lubrication fundamentally changes based on speed, load, and fluid viscosity. At high speeds, you achieve hydrodynamic lubrication, where a thick fluid film completely separates the two surfaces, but at low speeds or high loads, enter the boundary lubrication regime. The fluid is squeezed out, the microscopic mountains crash into each other, and you are entirely dependent on chemical additives to prevent the metal from tearing itself apart. On Earth, we are shielded from the true horror of this adhesive force by our atmosphere. The oxygen and moisture in our air instantly react with raw metal, coating everything in a microscopic layer of oxide and adsorbed gases. This invisible film acts as a natural boundary lubricant, keeping the raw metal atoms from touching directly. But what happens when you take that protective atmosphere away? In the high vacuum of space, those protective oxide layers eventually wear off, and because there is no ambient oxygen, they do not regenerate. When clean, bare metal surfaces touch in the vacuum of space, the adhesion is absolute. The electrons flow freely across the interface, and the parts spontaneously fuse together in a phenomenon called cold welding. This is exactly what paralyzed the Galileo spacecraft's antenna. To survive in this brutal environment, engineers cannot use normal liquid oils because they would instantly evaporate in the vacuum. Instead, they must engineer dry solid lubricants like molybdenum disulfide. Molybdenum disulfide is structured like a microscopic deck of cards. The bonds within each card are incredibly strong, but the bonds holding the cards together are incredibly weak van der Waals forces. When the mechanism moves, the atomic layers simply slide over one another, taking the shear damage so the spacecraft's metal does not have to. So, if friction is this destructive, inevitable force born from atomic adhesion, is it possible to bypass it entirely? The answer lies in one of the most profound breakthroughs in modern tribology, a state of matter known as structural superlubricity. To understand this, imagine trying to slide two egg cartons over each other. If the peaks and valleys are perfectly aligned, they lock together, and sliding them requires a lot of force. In the atomic world, this is called a commensurate lattice, and it is the root of high friction. But if you take the top egg carton and twist it by just a few degrees, the peaks no longer align with the valleys. The cartons glide over each other effortlessly. This is an incommensurate state. By taking two-dimensional materials like atomically flat sheets of graphene and rotating them out of alignment, the atomic lattices can no longer interlock. The coefficient of friction drops to near absolute zero. It effectively vanishes. We are talking about mechanical systems that could theoretically run forever with virtually no wear, no heat generation, and minimal energy loss. Researchers are now racing to scale this quantum trick up to the macroscopic world, utilizing nanoparticles and complex hybrid coatings to disperse contact stress and maintain this structural mismatch on a large scale. If we can master this, we could reclaim the billions of dollars worth of energy that is currently lost to mechanical friction. It is deeply tempting to look at superlubricity and dream of a frictionless utopia for decades. The ultimate goal of engineering, technology, and user experience design has been to eliminate friction. We want one-click purchasing, seamless algorithms, and instant answers. But in our blind rush to eradicate physical and digital resistance, we forgot something crucial. A frictionless world is a highly dangerous one. Without friction, a high-performance vehicle's brakes cannot convert kinetic energy into thermal energy to stop the car. Without friction, tires cannot grip the road. And in the digital realm, a completely frictionless system actually destroys human agency. Consider the modern rise of artificial intelligence. Traditional AI systems are designed to be frictionless oracular machines. You ask a complex question, and the system gives you a single, highly confident answer. But psychologists and computer scientists are discovering that when interacting with these frictionless systems, humans rapidly succumb to automation bias. We shut off our critical thinking, blindly defer to the machine, and become passive button pushers rather than active decision makers. The system is simply too smooth. To combat this loss of human intellect, researchers are intentionally designing friction back into artificial intelligence through a new paradigm called judicial AI. Instead of giving you one definitive answer, a judicial AI acts like an agonistic courtroom. It presents multiple contrasting explanations. It gives you one mathematically sound argument supporting a conclusion and a completely different, equally plausible argument opposing it. It deliberately introduces cognitive friction. This cognitive friction is defined as the mental resistance your intellect encounters when engaging with a complex system of rules. It forces you to slow down. It forces you to compare, evaluate, and actually think. Just as the physical friction of a tire gripping the road allows a driver to maintain control and steer the vehicle, cognitive friction allows the human mind to maintain grip over its choices. This brings us to a profound reframing of how we must look at the world moving forward. Friction is not merely an enemy to be eradicated, nor is it a simple, static constant found in a high school textbook. It is the universe's ultimate control mechanism. Too much physical friction destroys our spacecraft, seizes our machinery, and wastes our global energy. Too little cognitive friction degrades our minds, accelerates automation bias, and strips us of our autonomy. The future of human progress does not belong to those who simply try to eliminate resistance. It belongs to the friction architects, whether we are intentionally misaligning atomic lattices in a graphene matrix to achieve quantum superlubricity or deliberately programming debate into a neural network to force human reflection. Our survival depends on mastery. We must deeply understand the fundamental mechanics of resistance, so we have the wisdom to know exactly when to let things slide and exactly when to make them grip.